You've got two complete polar opposites now running for president of the United States. If you were psychoanalyzing Trump and Kamala Harris, what would you conclude right now based on everything you've seen and heard?
In a political landscape defined by division, what can the psyche of two polar opposites reveal about the future of America? Join Jordan Peterson as he delves deep into the minds of Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, uncovering the hidden motivations and psychological traits that could shape the next presidential election.
Well, if I could vote in the American election, I would vote for Trump. And I don't trust Harris. Now, do I trust Trump? Well, he was president for 4 years.
Will past behaviors dictate future choices, or is there more beneath the surface? Discover the insights that could change the way you view these controversial figures.
Like, look, the best predictor of someone's future behavior is their past behavior. If you're trying to hire someone and you have documented history of their efforts in precisely the domain that you're attempting to hire for, and the evidence is clear and valid, you use that in favor of all other predictive markers. So I think it's more appropriate for me as a clinician who knows the psychometric literature to point out that independent of Trump's personality, which tends, by the way, to be a relatively weak predictor of behavior, it's intelligence that's the best predictor, and then personality. We have a documented track record. Okay, so what do we know about Trump? Well, as far as I'm concerned, we know this: decent economic performance, markedly stable international situation, no wars, plus, and that's something, no wars. Plus, he established the Abraham Accords.
We're here this afternoon to change the course of history. After decades of division and conflict, we mark the dawn of a new Middle East.
And they've held even after October 7th, and everybody in the State Department told the Trump administration that putting that agreement together was impossible.
Thanks to the great courage of the leaders of these three countries, we take a major stride toward a future in which people of all faiths and backgrounds live together in peace and prosperity.
The Abraham Accords, formalized in 2020, represent a landmark shift in Middle Eastern geopolitics by establishing diplomatic relations between Israel and several Arab nations, notably the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, and later Morocco, with the U.S. playing a mediating role. Named after the shared biblical patriarch of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, these accords aim to foster peace, stability, and economic cooperation based on mutual recognition, economic partnerships, and a commitment to address regional challenges collaboratively.
So I would say, with regards to Trump, well, we know what a Trump presidency would be like, but there's something else to consider too, because you might say, well, you know, that was round one and now it's round two and Trump is older. And although I think he's actually modified his behavior to some degree as a consequence of being beat up so thoroughly over the last 5 years, and although he's a bit defensive, he's also less blustery and more human, which I think is a big plus. But for me, the other thing that I've seen really switch that's really been positive for me is that Trump has pulled a lot of hyper-powerful people together around him. Musk, Tulsi Gabbard, Vivek Ramaswamy, Robert F. Kennedy, most of whom would have been Democrats in anything approximating a sane and normal world. And so, you see, my sense is that somebody whose narcissistic impulses are out of control, because Trump is a flamboyant and dominating character who likes the public light. So you think, well, you know, does he tilt too far in the narcissistic direction? It's like, well, why would he share the spotlight with the rest of this crew?
Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr., Vivek Ramaswamy, and Elon Musk collectively lend Donald Trump a diverse array of support, enhancing his campaign with their unique appeals to anti-establishment sentiments, free speech advocacy, and business innovation, potentially broadening his voter base and legitimizing his platform with a mix of political outsiders and influential figures.
And the other thing that we should consider is that, look, man, I would vote for Trump if for no other reason than Musk himself has already agreed to head something like a Department of Governmental Efficiency in the U.S. It's like, okay, Enough said. And then Kennedy is bringing the public health crisis into the political realm. And both those two things are revolutionary.
I would also say
Ramaswamy seems to be... Go ahead.
Ramaswamy is a very smart guy as well. I completely agree with you.
Piers Morgan justly shows more straightforward admiration of Trump as a badass here.
Also, I think that Trump has shown with these assassination attempts something very surprising that I suspect a lot of people would not have expected.
Take a look at what happened.
And that is genuine personal courage. I mean, the first time when he was actually shot, to insist on getting back up and to punch the air defiantly was a remarkable thing to do. But I thought what even more remarkably was a week later, he was back on stage at another rally with an even bigger crowd, like nothing had happened. I spoke to him that night and he was, very gung-ho. I'm just going to keep doing it. They're not going to stop me. That is personal moral courage. I don't think you ever know whether you have it until it happens. And then you saw again with this latest one, he was cracking jokes immediately afterwards, saying, well, I wish I could have finished my birdie putt. Again, the reaction, it's a quality of Trump that we haven't really seen until you see it.
In regards to Trump being funny, Dr. Peterson continues.
And the thing about Trump, and you can't deny this, Trump is a funny bastard.
Right.
He's funny. He'll say daring things just because they're comical. He's really good at it. And even his Twitter usage, his X usage, Twitter, of course, because he's not really using the platform now. Impulsive, entertaining, unbelievably cutting and funny in a stand-up comedian sort of manner. And, that just doesn't go well with the tyrannical personality, because tyrants aren't well known for being able to tolerate the court jester. Let's put it that way. And so Trump is tough and funny. The other thing about Trump you got to think about too is, is he ambitious? Well, I don't think it's ambition that's driving his pursuit of this second term. I mean, first of all, Trump's an old man. And second of all, he's already president and he's as famous as you can get.
Yeah.
And you might say, well, his ambition is so overweening that, it's compelling him forward regardless. And I don't actually think so. I actually think that what happened was that Trump accidentally became president, shocked the hell out of him. And then he got some sense of exactly how unstable and corrupt the DC swamp had become. And he started to take the role seriously. And now I think he's taking it even more seriously. And that's part of why he's building this coalition.
In regards to the Trump-Harris debate, both Dr. Peterson and Piers Morgan make some great points.
I think he made a dreadful mistake in the debate with Kamala Harris, because Trump has gathered these people around him and he's ready to move forward. Now, he didn't make a case for that in the damn debate.
I thought he was actually...
He didn't say, look,
I thought he had a bad
go
debate,
ahead,
actually. I thought that she played him rather cleverly. She played to his narcissism, let's call it, I think, what it is a bit, about the crowd sizes, about all that kind of stuff. And rather than him laser-like focusing on her weakness, which is that after 4 years, the country clearly is not in a better place. That's why she couldn't answer that question. And skewering her on her actual paucity of policy knowledge. I mean, she doesn't seem to know what she would do if she ran the country. She sort of played into his hands of allowing himself to be goaded and getting into a bit of a street fight and then saying crazy stuff about cats and dogs and so on and so on.
And what's Dr. Peterson's psychoanalysis on Vice President Harris?
One of the marked things I have seen happening with the Democrats since this switch in leadership is their movement away from the radical left. And so I'd like to give them credit for that. I think, now, is it real? Well, maybe. Some of me doesn't care if it's real, even if it's performative, even if it's purely performative, it's long overdue and very welcome. And so you don't hear Kamala talking much about the climate crisis, which I'm perfectly happy about, because I think that's an absolute load of anti-human rubbish in the main. And the more leftist types within the Democrat Party have been effectively sidelined, at least as this campaign has progressed. So, thumbs up on that regard. Having said that, on the principle that previous performance is the best indicator of future performance, Kamala's had her time in the White House. Now, you might say the vice presidency is a secondary role, but if you're the sort of person that would only allow the vice presidency to be a secondary role, then maybe you're not fit to be president. You don't have enough force of character. And we've already seen what a Biden administration looks like. And what I see the Biden administration look like, I mean, America is such an economic powerhouse that it's still trudging along, rampaging along like a bull in a china shop, like it always does. But foreign policy has been a complete bloody world-ending disaster under the Democrats. They haven't stood up to Iran, which is a pack of vipers without compare. And we have this terrible, brutal, and I think unnecessary war going on between Russia and Ukraine, which could spiral out of control at any moment and is highly likely to. And so that's on Harris and the Democrats, and that's a major issue.
But what is more or less predictable for Vice President Harris?
The easiest thing to predict is another 4 years of the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you predict that? It's not like she's the only one calling the shots. And as you already pointed out, maybe we could have more confidence that she would be a transformative leader, pull the Democrats to the center. What would you say? Act in a stellar manner on the foreign policy front and put the economy in order. Well, we'd be a lot more convinced of that if she was 10 times more policy oriented than she appears to be.
I completely agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen a candidacy focused so much on image in my life in any country.
Thanks for tuning in. And don't forget to share your thoughts below.